What's up, guys? Two banks of five here. In light of the Jurgen Klopp contract extension, I thought I would talk about the top six, where they're going, manager-wise, club-wise, and obviously I don't know the ins and outs of every football club, so just don't be too harsh. Go ahead and follow us on our Instagram account, 2_banks_of_5. That'll be your first stop shop for content being uploaded. And if you just want to look at the content we are uploading, please go look at Premier League Analysis, another Instagram account by a good friend of mine. So that's up there as well. First up, we're going to start with Arsenal. I think Arsenal are still got a hangover from this stadium, and it's probably time for a change up in ownership. Undoubtedly, the owners are siphoning money out of the club and not putting it back in. And I think the summer was a weak attempt, really, to compete in the top four. Signing Pepe at the time seemed like an incredible transfer. But just their signings elsewhere, I think that money for Pepe should have gone into a very good centre-back. David Luiz has shown he's not good enough to be the leading centre-back for a top Premier League club anymore. They signed Saliba, who I believe is a central defender, but then load him back out for the rest of the season. I mean, they probably definitely could have used him. They should be looking at someone, like even a Diego Godin, someone who was leaving Atletico Madrid, ready for a new challenge. Would have been perfect. For Arsenal, though, I think the next 5 years are going to be quite challenging for them, with the likes of Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea performing well, and Leicester and Wolves coming up. I think they're going to find it very difficult the next few years. And I honestly think that a lot of the fans are starting to realise that Wenger was holding the club up. Sorry, I just need a drink. That Wenger was holding the club up. And on top of that was the fall guy for the owners. So for Arsenal, I think it's going to be a tough few years. And I think the fact that they haven't signed a new manager shows they're not sure what they want. So they need a better structure and plan of what they want for the future and where they're heading. Otherwise, they're just going to keep chopping and changing with no end result. Chelsea up next. The transfer ban has actually done them a world of good. I spoke about this on a video. The transfer ban has been alleviated. It'd be a shame if Chelsea went out and spunked a heap of money on players and started to drop out the likes of Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Pulisic, etc. I just think with a young manager, young players, you can't expect them to be consistent. And you, as a Chelsea fan, you have to be happy accepting that you're going to get good football, but at the same time, it's going to be inconsistent. 1 week you're going to batter a team, and the next week you're going to lose to a team you shouldn't. I do think in the next 5 years, Chelsea will win a Premier League title. The only thing doubting that for me is the fact last year there was rumours Abramovich was ready to sell. He wasn't ready to put the money into the club anymore. So that might be an issue for Chelsea going forward. If Abramovich is still keen and still a rock, then I think Chelsea will have a Premier League title in the next 5 years. We could genuinely be looking at the next class of 92. The class of 2019, Reece James, Mason Mount, Pulisic, Tammy Abraham, Tomori, bloody hell, Loftus-Cheek, all those young guys are quality players. Next up is Spurs. I think the fact they've just purchased, like they just bought one, the fact they've gone out for a new stadium just shows they're wanting to compete with the big boys. But unfortunately, I think that might hinder them for the next few years. And I think probably it's time to clear squad. The likes of Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Lloris even, Danny Rose, Eriksen. They're not all on their last legs. Some of them are, but I think Eriksen is a great example of someone who it's time to move on. And they need to sign new players, and they need to show to the likes of Heung-min Son, Dele Alli, Harry Kane, Harry Winks, that they're looking to compete. Otherwise, Real Madrid or Barca are going to come in for Harry Kane. Someone's going to come in for Dele Alli the way he's performing, and it will all change for Spurs very quickly. Mourinho is a good stopgap, and he might get them, say, a Carling Cup or an FA Cup in the next few years. But we all know it's not for certain, and I think he is literally a stopgap for their next Pochettino, who at the moment I think it's looking likely it's going to be Nuno Espirito Santo. So Spurs, I think they're going to be hovering around the top four the next few years, next half a decade, but I don't see any serious challenge from them coming up. Manchester United, the biggest financial club in the world pretty much. They need a complete restructure. There's systematic problems at the club. I always hear about it. Ed Woodward is a great financial guy, and I think he needs to get back into his lane, and they need someone who knows football, a good scouting department, and they need to look at players not for the future. They shouldn't be going out and buying 20, 19-year-olds and going, all right, in 5 years, this could be the best team ever. They need to sign players in their early 20s to 24 who are up and coming, who won't break the bank. And that takes years of scouting. We've seen Liverpool go after Minamino this week. They've been scouting him for 6 years apparently, and a lot of clubs do that. Clubs who have their shit together pretty much have a plan. You don't feel like United have a plan at the moment. It's just sort of happening as it happens. So for United, I truly, truly think they do need a change up top in the sporting director role. And I think Ole will go at the end of the season. Who they get in is a different question. Sorry, I'm thirsty today. I should do like some ASMR. Maybe I'll do that in my next video. Will you guys be keen on some ASMR? Nah. Yeah. Or would you? Would you? He's shown he's good in the big games, Solskjaer, but it's pretty easy to defend and counter. Let's be honest. Most of the teams... That's why you see big teams lose to small teams, because they just sit back. City against Newcastle a few weeks ago. Newcastle parked the bus. They were happy to soak up the pressure, and they were happy to catch Man City on the break. United did the same thing. So if Solskjaer can show he can get the team performing well in those games they should win, then yes, I think maybe he could be a manager for them. But at the moment, I don't see it happening. Will United challenge the next 5 years? Maybe. Just because they have that financial clout, they might get their shit together. Or you don't know, they could just buy 3 outstanding players, get a better manager, and everyone has an off year and they win. That's possible. I do see United competing at the end of this 5 years again, but for now, the next year, 2 years, maybe even 3, I expect United to be competing for top 4 at most. Manchester City. I've spoken so much shit about them. I don't like Man City. That's clear. The rumours coming out of the club now is they're not willing to pump heaps in. They are willing to put money in, but they don't want to be seen as the club who just absolutely lathers out world record transfers for players anymore. Which is, to be fair, they have spent a lot, but I can't really remember a time when City have spent a world record fee for anyone. Maybe wingbacks when Walker and Mendy were signed, but besides that, they're not really. They've never spent 75 million on a central defender like Liverpool or United. They've never spent 100 million on a Neymar or an Mbappe or anything like that. So I think the criticism of them spending massive fees is a bit over the top. They do spend a lot of $50 to $40 million chunks. So they have the biggest net spend in Europe at the moment. They do spend a lot, but I don't think they're going out and buying every single top-class player in the world. Are they suffering from Pep Guardiola burnout? It looks like that way at the moment, but it also could just be a mirage for the fact that they've got lots of injuries and tactically Pep Guardiola is struggling to fill those gaps. Obviously, Rodri's come in, and it's hard for a central defensive midfielder in that position to learn such a difficult system so quickly. So, expecting actually City to bounce back and to compete again, whether Pep's in or not. There's been a few rumours that Pep will leave in the summer, and Pochettino to come in. Imagine that, Poch at the top. Can you imagine what Pochettino could do with all that cash? It would be absolutely unbelievable. So for City, yeah, they're obviously going to compete in the next 5 years. There's no doubt about it. I think usually the club have been very good, planning-wise. I don't think they've planned very well for the end of this cycle, to be fair. I think they really, maybe last year, at the end of last year, they should have been thinking, Vincent Kompany's going, it's time to get a new captain in, a new leader. Leroy Sané's out. We should really be looking to sign. They didn't have much time left, granted, on that one. They should be looking to sign a youthful prospect for the winging positions. They should also be looking to replace the likes of Aguero up top. I don't think Jesus is anywhere near as good as Aguero. They need an absolute top-class striker to come in. I just think they weren't prepared for the end of this cycle. Phil Foden should have got more game time last season because David Silva's also dropped off a cliff. He can't play 60 minutes at the moment, and his pressing game has slowed down a lot. So City could have planned better for the end of this cycle, which I think is coming, but they have the money there and the financial clout. Will they compete in the next 5 years? 100%. City are serial contenders, and they will be for a long time coming. Last up, my boys, Liverpool. It's pretty bad. I definitely have a bias towards Liverpool. I should really work on that. But Liverpool have been extremely, extremely smart club-wise in the last 2 or 3 years. Pretty much everything they do is the bee's knees. They've made a few mistakes with the trademarking issue, but building the new stand, looking at expanding another stand as well. I think, is it the Annie Road end they're expanding? Minamino, signing him, the only club knowing that he has that release clause, scouting years in advance, looking to statistically analyse what players do off the ball. Shrewd business, signing Van Dijk, signing Salah, Mane. You know, when they sign players, they're looking for players, not just their talent, but their work rate, their personality, and even looking at their injury records. Touch wood. Players like Mane, looks like a machine. I'm really scared now that I say that it's going to come back to bite me. Mane looks like a machine. Van Dijk looks like a machine. Alisson looks like a machine. They just look like players who could play on and on and on and on and will stay fit. And at the same time, there's been some people saying they just look a little too fit. Granted, if I was a fan from another club and I saw those guys running around like headless chickens for 90 minutes, I would think, yeah, that looks a bit too good to be true. A bit of juicing there, maybe. But they're just doing everything right at the moment, and the Klopp extension is perfect. It obviously suits all parties. At the same time, Gerrard signed a contract to the exact same date. So I was definitely a proponent for not bringing Gerrard in early, just because I think he needs a bit of time to develop his managerial style, learn the game. Obviously, he's a great player and is already a good manager. But to be a manager of a top club like Liverpool, you need a bit of something. So the more time you can get on the training ground, the better. The one thing I'm worried about with Klopp is I think the same as Guardiola and Pochettino, he is a man who is big on his system, hard work rate, and I think maybe Liverpool should learn a lot from Pep Guardiola's side and from Pochettino's side, that they have to keep rotating, they have to freshen things up, they have to sign new players and take players out, because they keep the hunger in the squad. You know, everyone thinks of it as like, oh, you're just playing football, you're loving it. But if you think about it in a job sense, if you work the same job for 6 years, you hear the same messages every day, you do the same lessons every day, it's going to get to the point where you're not going to put the effort in, regardless of how much money you're making. It's natural for humans to become complacent, become bored, need stimulation in a new way. So the constant rotation of players is something that all clubs need to do, but I think Liverpool need to be wary about, specifically since we've seen this season, Spurs have struggled with that, and they've had to change Pochettino, and they haven't had a plan in place. City, you can see the Guardiola fatigue is starting to occur. I just said before, it might not be. The way he is in the media at the moment, very sharp, very bullish, very blame. It looks a bit like his time at the end of Barcelona and Bayern Munich. So Liverpool need to be smart about this. And that could be as simple as, you know, I love him to bits, but Mohamed Salah going to play for Real Madrid, bringing in Sancho then, a new player, a new striker, a hungry player, and keep rotating that. I think Liverpool players are very hungry at the moment, and that's a real worry for the rest of the league. And I think they need to be smart, Liverpool, otherwise in 3 years we could see a burnout. They need to have a plan in place. But yeah, I think they will definitely be competing in the next 5 years, and for my sake, I hope we get multiple trophies, but you never know with football. I'll probably leave it at that. So in my theory, I think Chelsea, Liverpool, City and United will be the top 4 main contenders and title contenders in the next 5 to 10 years. Arsenal and Spurs, I think, are going to have a difficult time unless they can change things up. And I haven't spoken about Wolves or Leicester today. If they can keep their players and keep what they're doing rolling, then yes, they could be up there. But yeah, definitely I think expect to see a United bounce back in the next 5 years, and expect to see Chelsea's youngsters improving the squad. I'll leave it at that, guys. Big long one today. Tonight is Premier League action, so expect reactions on our Instagram account and on here. Very excited. I'm actually at work for most of the Liverpool game, but I'll sneakily have it on my phone. Hopefully it's an easy one, so I'm not too worried about missing the game. And then after that, we'll watch a bit of Leicester Norwich. I think most of the big games are on Sunday night. Tomorrow we have Spurs, Wolves, United, Everton, and City Arsenal, I think, are all on. Are they all on at the same time? They're all on the same day, I know that. So that will be absolutely brilliant day of Sunday football for you guys. Also, it's cheat day, lads. You know what that means. Time to bulk up, okay? Anyway, guys, that's all for today. We'll see you later tonight with some Premier League review. Hopefully, I can get some results right this week. I've been shocking lately, but I can feel it. This week's the week. All right, guys, take care and have a lovely weekend.